stand-in tonight. Said, "Right, very good.
So
Yeah, I'm the wild man today.
he
Probably
said
about
he was going to do
6
it.
hours. Too much trouble.
And there it'll be.
See you all. Yeah. If we're not full, and
Two more,
then
right?
we'll be putting them in the. Okay, so and
Satsang. So we were here for an hour.
I was reading since it's this, but in fact, this is the first. What's so extraordinary is starting back there in 1920, almost similar, converts this huge, the revisions he did just before he died, languaging for the a system goes through. Consciousness is able to, in my language, detail. Who are curious, the spiritual journey, probably the last 90%. That very much together, the nature of our realized is that what is don't know about, don't who are on the spiritual path. Distances to this universal. And language in which we do, we call it where we begin to be able, that's the enough that exist in the it's very much individual. Live through our psychic, which I call intelligence. The intelligence of the heart. Experience happens. Glimpses that are all around. And I know, especially in open psychic, the United States, because real so much and closed us off. We out of our usual the mountains. It's also the part like stand and just be ourselves. Veil of our to actually this great cover beyond identity. Its nature to look for it is just what it happened to me. Individual awakenings that happen. The full difficult until some years into my work. Transition out of our individual into our awakened self until our supreme trajectory in the human being is now itself, and then the and the human of what and felt, and then even after with the supreme itself, which is really where when we complete the journey. Is that the nature of being when the supramental force can enter through the individuality, our psychic self, cells of the body. Because if you can either in a that's the clue. Conditions are there. That means and what is the favorable condition? For what's your which the Hindus call as the guna force. Because transforming from the inside out where other ourselves from the outside. There's the action of our own effort, our inquiry, inspiration, and falling outward in is recognize it because recognize something that is psychic being has developed enough to sense it or to recognize something else is living me, something else is. And now that we're doing this work with essentially taking the work I have been doing with all of you up until recently, which has been our relationship and the role that my relationship has in the unfolding of the truth of what you are. And this collaborative process between the teacher or the guru and the student or the devotee, and in the unfolding of that awakening process that occurs as you as an individual, inevitably there will come a time where you cross this threshold, and there are now people with me who have crossed the threshold to varying degrees. And this is why we have this training program. And those who've crossed the threshold, the nature of it is not only can they feel the force, it comes through them. They can feel it entering in. If you can feel my force in this our particular relationship coming into you, then you're in the process of universalizing your nature already. It's already happening. Now, how far it goes, it just depends how much yoga we have done, how much previous preparation, the capacity of our system to receive it, because if the system is traumatized, it cannot hold what's trying to come. So that will limit, create an upper threshold. And then the opportunity to understand what's happening to you, to have a way of understanding what's happening. Everything my teacher spoke to me, universalization of the process. That's everything he spoke to me about, even though he talked to Gitas to everybody else. But privately, it was always about understanding what was happening in my system. And I haven't put the focus there until recently, when what we're doing now is giving people an opportunity who are open, who are able to receive the soft force, to co-create, to collaborate with the universalization of what you knew yourself to be, coming out of your human nature, coming out of your what you've known in your awakening process, and stepping into a greater connection with it, which is larger than yourself. You know, the psychic being can feel the trauma that's going on in the planet. It can feel the peril, the psychic part. We don't have to be spiritually developed. We can just feel it, or we encounter situations or read about, and there's something in us that gets activated. This is just what happened with the burning of Notre Dame in Paris. It was like seeing the Twin Towers. When I went and saw it, I was like, oh, God, right to my heart. I've cherished that building. I've seen it, been there, and the whole quality of the years, 100 years of sacrifice and service to create these buildings of great beauty, elegance, almost like the best mankind could come up with in its worship of something greater than itself. To be burned like that, it shocked the whole country. It's a shock. Why? Because we're all linked with these in some way. And this link can be felt through our psychic. And so we're touched through that part of us that's already universalized. And this is where mankind's going. Mankind, as a species, is moving into this completely new paradigm that will be very different than the one we have known before. It may not even require physical bodies, which is handy if you're going to lose the planet. That we can continue to develop from that plane because what was the lessons of the previous embodied plane have been learned. And we can start meeting lessons that we wouldn't learn unless those were complete or resolved. And I believe that's kind of what we're doing as the teachers are coming forward, the facility. To step out of the box of the organization of your life for yourself and begin to participate in this mutation that's going on. And what is being sacrificed right now is and as I look at this, I believe that we're all getting universal lessons. That we are so interconnected now as a species. That the world of any mark is being received one way or another through all of humanity, depending upon where they are on that continuum. we're all participating in the unfolding of this time. And it be the fires, be it the flooding, be it the hurricanes or the tornadoes, be it the recognition of the loss of the species, of new types of fungi that are currently all over the world that are infecting people everywhere with they cannot get rid of it. And 40% of the people in some areas, in certain age groups, die from it. So, there is this crisis, this peril that's sweeping away our complacency and our usual paradigm and self-interest and opening us up to the fact that we are all in this. The nature of the experience of the psychic being is it knows without knowing it knows the interconnection of itself with everything else. A child knows, lives in that natural relationship with existence before it gets conditioned into its separate consciousness. And when we awaken, part of that is moving back into that original condition, but we know it. We recognize the difference between the contracted state and this now expanded state. And this sense of our oneness is the nature of the psychic in each of ourselves that can connect spontaneously. And when we awaken, the strength and the detail and the depths and the fullness of that connection expands. It's what I've noticed in my spiritual work is that once I awakened, I became much more attuned to what other people were experiencing. And I can remember when my teacher back in 2000, chakra and elemental techniques, that when I would sit with a person and sound out the chakras, I could feel what was happening in their system. That was the first time that I discovered for me, because I was an architect. I wasn't doing healing work. I wasn't doing energy work. First time I discovered that I knew in ways I didn't. I could know. And what was happening is I was moving into relationship through identity. I was becoming, in this process of moving into unity or moving into merger with what the person was experiencing. And I could know better than perhaps they could know what was happening to them. And this is one of the ways we begin to heal each other, is when we can move into this empathetic connection with either an individual or a group or the world through that quality of our beingness that has what Sri Aurobindo calls this psychic being, or I call it the intelligence, that allows us to step out of our previous identity and expand ourselves into that which is before us, or to that which is happening in larger arenas. And life becomes more full, more rich, more nurturing, less our individual need for connection quiets when we can just turn our attention to others. And if you look at what's happening with the groups that we're doing here now, is that there's this moving into relationship. You're moving into connection. You're moving into relationship, and you're discovering this unity, this through that quality of our awakened being that gives us a way that doesn't make it them, me. Of yourself and another. Now, this is not many of you who are teachers, but the languaging and the feasibility of it and the practicality of this has perhaps not been fully recognized. And how to nurture this quality in ourselves that steps out of our own contraction into a more open and porous, vulnerable relationship with existence is how we do that, how we collaborate. The more we can let go of what's kept us in our contracted state because of our upbringing or our conditioning or our program, the more we get to experience our relationship with each other and with existence. This is the most interesting work there could be. There is nothing more fascinating. No movie, no reality show, no sports arena. There's nothing that compares to this kind of inner exchange. It's so real. It's so satisfying. It's so nourishing. I'm totally addicted to listening to all these groups. It's like I prefer it versus even Game of Thrones. You know, I can just listen and listen.
Point on that one.
Because I'm experiencing what you're experiencing, and I'm experiencing the unfolding of each of you in the process of interacting with each other, where you're discovering this divinity in you, this godlike capacity to be in relationship with each other without an agenda, without controlling it to have it be my way. Yeah, and all you have to do is extrapolate that and then imagine a world that would come out of that. All you would need to do is have that experiential base or that awareness base of knowing what is to know something as if you were that, to become that which you attend to. And this development of our capacity to do this is first the shedding of that which is habituated to stay separate. And secondly, it's learning how to expand into it by serving the world purposefully, by expanding out of ourselves and serving others about us. So this is all practical. It is actually has a repeatable and evidential basis, and you can actually create qualities that are demonstrated as one comes up in this process, and you can create opportunities by which we can keep expanding up into that process, and in the process shedding our little self and expanding into that magnificence. That is the truth of what we are. So we were just having a meeting today where we were looking at groups, the different groups that are occurring, and how it was useful to allow things to go askew as a means of it becoming more true, to go off track, to discover a new track that wouldn't have been there if you hadn't gone off track. There was something in the chaos of things not going well that allowed for something to manifest that couldn't have happened if it was all so well ordered. It's almost like it's not almost like, it is. When you have a context for your life, when you have a purpose, when you gather, when everybody is sharing in a common intent, that no matter what happens, it will work. You can do no wrong. It isn't about doing it right. It's about doing it with as much sincerity and truth as you can muster, aligned with that intent. Willingness to be able to tolerate things going wrong and not blaming yourself or not judging it or not getting stuck in a frozen adaptation to something that's going out of control where you feel responsible. I mean, that's part of what we're doing in training facilitators and trainers, is learning how to hold the unworkability, the apparent chaos, the concurrent contradictory forces that are all arising at the same time. Because that's it. Truth always manifests in the paradox. It always manifests in the unresolvable combination of forces. It actually is trying to manifest even in despair of recognizing it's not going to go your way, or as you would wish it. It can manifest even when you're in your hopelessness and loss, and you've given up on yourself in the opportunity, where you go beyond hope, where you're disillusioned. Disillusioned. How do you disillusion yourself? Through disillusionment. It is the same way humiliation serves humility. The contradictions, coexisting, the paradox. The mind can't follow this, but the being in us can. This learning how to come into life as life is, holding an intent, it will allow for the chaos to form into something that's aligned with that intent. When we wake up to our divine nature, we discover that we have the capacity to recontextualize whatever is arising as something that serves our purpose. We develop this quality of authority, this quality of being able to hold it as it's arising, being in personal responsibility, because that's where authority arises with. Holding whatever is occurring with us, holding whatever is occurring all around you, and when you're in unity, you're feeling everything. And in that way, you're holding that chaos that's actually there all along, but nobody talks about it. Everybody tries to fit in, to be safe, to be acceptable, to fit, all the rest of it. But if you can hold the unworkability at the level of group, and that with an intent, with a purpose for something truer to manifest, you shift realities for people. You shift the paradigm that people have been taking for granted, the point of view that they didn't even know they had, that wouldn't allow them to see outside of that point of view. This is when we awaken to the universal, we discover these incredible capacities. But it's not like personal anymore. It's really around how we can be useful, how we can more effectively serve, how we can discover the opportunity of existence, not just for us, but for those we're in contact with, and perhaps for the whole world. I was reading a book someone's sent to me, so if somebody gives me a reference, I usually look at it for a few minutes at least to see if it's got anything interesting. Because I'm always looking for new material. New way to say the same thing. And the nature of this one was Gaia. It's a Gaia and something else. In effulgence or light and some other principle. And the person is talking about this great opportunity for mankind, that this is an awakening of the whole planet. We're going to go and go into this another whole dimension and be able to participate in the creation in whole new ways. And I used to love reading that kind of stuff. But it's never so certain. It has a lot of collateral damage. There is the whole idea of what happens to human beings as the planet goes through what it's going through. So it's coming from the place of an expanded being, but not from identity. Because identity, you would know it's a peril. You would know that there is an intensification of the structures that keep us bound, keep us separate, making life actually even worse for many people on the planet. But it's not just people, it's everything living. And it's creating distortions, karmic distortions in the process of it. We cannot know in the lives we've lived up to now what those might look like. And you wouldn't wish this on anyone, even if it means that we're evolving into a new species. So we can't solve the problem unless we're related to the problem. We're abstractly projecting or imagining or philosophizing, we're not useful, except perhaps as describers, pointers. But when we're in unity, when we're able to merge, our ability to hold it becomes a means by which everywhere on the planet is that small piece more capable of being with what is arising, instead of being defeated and crushed by it, but as an opportunity to come into a new relationship with existence. You know, this thing where someone dies and you can go one way or the other. You can see, the soul has completed its journey, or, oh my God, they're leaving me and I'm so sad and I'm so much in grief. What is it that creates that threshold? What's the difference between taking something and taking it into feeling bad about people, feeling bad about ourselves, being bad about going into grief and sorrow and shame? What is it that has us see the magnificence of the passing? It's our consciousness. It's the quality of being we are. And if you look at the connection between the soul that parted, which way can we serve them more? Through our grieving and our sorrow and our anguish, or through our gratitude and appreciation? So that these transitions are very close, right? Paradoxes are very close to each other. You love the person, you hate the person. You love the person, you hate the person. Sometimes you love and hate them. So this is the nature of this trigger point, is that all it takes is just a slight shift, 1 degree of temperature change. And the existing balance goes. The human body, 1 degree of temperature change is that you're sick. You got a fever. Same thing for the planet. So there's these transition points where the quality of our consciousness can make all the difference. Where is it 50-50 and where is it 50.0001% over the other? These are the trigger points. Werner Erhard called them trim tabs. The trim tab is the thing on the rudder of the ship that moves the rudder before the rudder moves the ship. So these are moments of trim tabbing that go all the way down a stream where a trim tab moves a trim tab that moves a trim tab that moves those trim tabs. We are linked together. And when can choose or move into a relationship with that higher option, we can have repercussions that can go on, that can accumulate. So that's the great thing about the peril. It's an opportunity to wake up in a way you hadn't before. Feet rather into responsibility. And what is the responsibility that's most effective? It's not recycling. It's not even buying an electric car or putting up solar panels. It's a quality of a that's what we would do. For all of you who are connected to me in a relationship with me, it would be, one, to have the opportunity to grow into that when it becomes available to you, but also to have the focus so that there are more times by which you can encounter what it is that's working or not working in that unfolding within yourself. So the program we're doing is accelerating a process that would otherwise take years of you running programs. Years of you doing it on your own, trying to figure it out, doing it wrongly, getting into trouble. And we're compressing it down so that all of it can happen in a context, therefore a more safe or manageable arena by which you can learn to come into existence more fully than you ever could do on your own. I was sharing with Saraswati and Satyapriya how I wish something like this was available for me in my awakening. Oh my God. I would have saved a lot of wasted time. A lot of years doing it wrong, or thinking I was doing it right and doing it wrong, or doing it right and thinking I was doing it wrong. You know, there's just so many different ways on our own. We can't know what it is that works. But when you can be doing it and you can be listening to other people or participating with other people doing it, the learning curve just goes whoo, up the chart. I'm learning things I never knew. I mean, I'm clearly seeing that our people are more capable in ways I may never become capable of as a spiritual teacher. It's just extraordinary. We all have our own unique instrument, our own particular genius. The instrument we are is designed to have its own unique note. And we need many, many more playing this song for the planet, singing this song for the planet than we have now. We need the full orchestra. We need every kind of instrument, the drums, the trombones, the violins, the flutes, the harps, and all the rest, in order to reach out and permeate into the collective consciousness so it can go beyond the one note the one realized teacher has. So I'm not philosophizing. I'm looking at how to make, and other people are now with me, how to make a real difference. How to empower the process that's already occurring, and how to broaden and strengthen its effectiveness so that we can have a possibility of meeting the peril of this time. And that motivates, that calls up something in us that's greater than us. It's the purpose itself that gives us the strength and gives us the clarity to move up and take a stand to support that unfolding, both within us and for the world. It's not wrong to want to wake up for yourself. It's not an error to be able to find some peace and some silence and some stillness, because we all need to find that place of refuge so that we can stand the pressure of the bombardment that inevitably comes when we step up into a greater level of responsibility. So the higher you go into the manifestation, the more you have to rest in that silence and eternal stillness and simplicity of what you are. So there's this concurrent action where one side is the strengthening of that capacity in you in more and more situations to be in touch with that silent, still, true quality of being, which is your true authority, and to be engaged in the world in such a way that that's tested and strengthened so that you can bring that quality of being into situations that would otherwise overtake you or overwhelm you or defeat you even. So a lot of you are here for that. And it is the one arena where not only am I going to be there, there's going to be a number of very serious, spiritually developed people sitting in that room with all of us. The depths of the silence and the stillness and that which is not able, still wanting to be complicated rather than simple. All of this is a tremendous opportunity to expand our ability to manifest and be more effective when you are feeling called to serve from that universal part of your nature. See, I don't know of any other place I would rather be. From my consciousness, there is no, that I can know of, more rare an opportunity than what we're co-creating right now. That's my feeling. I actually had a visitation, and I had a samadhi yesterday, where the person said to me, "You're the only one doing this." And I just broke into tears. Oh my God, I'm the only one doing this in the samadhi state. It wasn't me, but it was in the recognition how rare it is what's being created here. Still moves me. So this nature of the fact that we're maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we don't know. I mean, other teachers aren't on YouTube, right? They don't have websites. they don't have this huge Shakti entity who's able to create
I'm
these
sure there's a
giant
few.
organizations that can respond to thousands of people. So it could be, and it would be my wish, and totally it would be my greatest happiness to know that this is happening. And I do know that what's happening to me is happening to everyone. I know that because I can feel it. And then I talk to you, and it is it. I'm talking to myself in one sense, and you're hearing yourself in another sense. We're not here to seek anything. We're here to find what's already so. It's a great joy. It's like the heavens are singing. It feels like the heavens are singing. Hallelujah. One of those human beings that find hallelujah. Heaven on earth, truth on earth. Truth on earth is not about happiness. Truth on earth is not about feeling good. Truth on earth is not making sure you get your preferences or you have things go away. What's greater than all of those is to be serving something greater than yourself. Then that's the happiness. That's the aliveness. That's the truth manifest, which is unconditional relationship or unconditional love. And I know when you leave your room or when you stop listening to the video, you'll go back into your life and you'll start meeting the parts of your ego that does not know how to live this or does not know how to integrate this. And it may not even be that long. But the principle is this actually can be brought into your life, not just because there's a transmission going on in the room, not just because it's being received and it's causing a ripple effect to collective consciousness, because that is what's happening as we sit here together. It's going from me to you to the 200 souls you're connected to, if you know it or not. And to those, some of those, maybe it's only 50 souls that they're connected to. So other than just that, there is this training that's going on in the very fundamental organization of your identity as a person in existence. An expanding of the capacity in a new way, in ways not recognized before. Sure, Aurobindo wrote these laborious, huge books, but you had to read them. And you had to read 90% of the book before you really got to something that you could connect to, right? Here, you don't have to do that. You get the 10% right off the bat, and the 80% is your stuff to work with, or the 90% is your content to work with, to make it live, to make it part of your life. So this is the spoken book, right? You can get those option to have someone read the book for you, so you can listen to the audio tape of someone reading for you. But you don't even have to bother to read. You don't even have to know English. I mean, you'd have to know English to listen, but you wouldn't have to know how to read to receive it. The less the mind is evolved, the better it is. The more, if you notice how you are in front of TV, and I know I'm looking at everybody in the room, you're just all absorbing this, is you just kind of zone out and you just get the movie, right? So this is kind of what's happening. You're getting it. You don't know you're getting it, but you're getting it. You just, that's what you do when you listen to Satri tapes. You just, whatever he says, you're still getting something. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to read it. You don't have to think it. And you're getting it. It's like you're being watered. Something new is being watered, nurtured. It's a little bit of aliveness, a little bit of possibility, a little bit of truth, a little bit of unconditional love all mingled in. Mm-hmm. And it's a little more true. You go to bed that night, just a little more true. Or you step into the next part of your day with just a little more true. All right. Where are we, timekeeper?
Well, you know what? This would be, you could do a 10-minute silent sitting.
Okay. So we're going to do a 10-minute silent sitting. And the nature of the silent sitting is really about entering more deeply into what's already here. To feel into the nature of the truth of yourself, sitting in your chair, being aware of your breath, being aware of that which is silent and still within yourself. Let us begin. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat